So last week we did our bee-themed monthly bullet journal, and this week let's continue with our weeklies. This month weeklies are the simplest and most beginner-friendly bullet journal I have ever made and recorded. There's practically no painting and hardly any drawing, so they're really easy and perfect for beginners. So what do we do instead if we don't paint and draw? Well, let's do some stamping. I've already used these cute little stamps in my monthly layout, and that idea bled through into my weeklies. I'll explain more in the video, you'll see what I mean. But you could do this with any kind of stamps. It doesn't need to be bee-themed. Any kind of stamps you have, if you like them, use them. These spreads are very versatile and can be adopted to any theme. And I also give you some suggestions how to adopt it to make it suit your theme. The stamping also has the added bonus of being really quick, much quicker than drawing and painting. So if you're pressed for time or in a hurry, try it. It's really easy and simple, and you've got the whole monthly with 5 weeklies done in 30 minutes, literally. I actually planned to draw and paint as usually, but then I saw that one of my bee stamps bled through the paper from my brain dump page to my first weekly. So I decided to roll with it and stamp some more. Luckily, the stamps I used were symmetrical, or more or less symmetrical, so I could do that. I just positioned the stamp exactly above the bleed and covered it up. To stick to the theme, I then used the stamps all over the page. But since I didn't want another bleed through to happen, I inked my stamp and then first stamped on a scrap piece of paper and only then onto my bujo. This technique is called ghost stamping and it works beautifully. I checked first in my monthly layout if the ghost prints also bleed through, but they didn't, so I felt confident using stamps in this way. I added some circles and wrote the titles for the days with Peak Pen fine liner in sanguine color that goes beautifully with this orange archival ink. List of all the supplies is on my blog, link in the description if you're interested. To draw the circles, I used circle die cuts and just chose the right size and traced along the edge. You could also use a round object, of course. You can see me using the same technique with hexagon dies on the next page. This is a very useful technique and it stretches your art supplies. Yes, of course, you could just use a die cut from cardboard, but this way I can choose to outline the outside edge of the die that is a bit larger than the inside, and that was just perfect for my layout. I stamped a few bees prior and added acronyms for the days into the hexagons. Lastly, a broken line for the flight lines completes the page. The next page has no stamped images, just freehand drawn boxes and days initials. Since my bujo is dotted, that makes drawing straight lines much easier. I'm not the best in that, even with this cheat, as you can see, so if you want to have perfectly straight lines, use a ruler, of course. But I didn't bother, I kind of like the shaky lines. In the middle, there's hexagon to tie it with the theme, so if you use different stamp set, use the shape that would go well with that. For example, a circle for the bubble if you chose fish stamps, or a snowflake in the winter, and so on. The next design was inspired by Bee Flight, or Bumblebee Flight. That's a great music, by the way. They all fly around seemingly chaotically, but there's logic to it. So I used that flight route as an inspiration for my weekly. The loops are places where the days would go, and the line separates them. If you want flowy, elegant lines, try to have your wrist really firm and locked and move your whole arm when drawing. My pencil sketch is much smoother because I did that. But when on camera, I could only draw from one angle and I don't want to cover everything with my hand, so it was a bit tricky. For the last page, I drew a bazillion of bees. I wanted to draw a bee swarm, so I just drew tiny bees, one next to the other, going in a diagonal from lower left corner up to the right. I won't torture you with all of the bees, so I cut that part out, and now you can see me adding headers with just my normal handwriting. You could, of course, choose a special font for this, but if you're in a hurry, this will do as well. I actually use my weeklies, so when they are done is much more important than how they are done. Anybody else like that out there? When I flipped through the pages, I noticed that the initials would look better painted. I guess I cannot run away from watercolors even for one bit. So I filled the blocky part of letters with this reddish brown color. It's English red by Schminke, but you could also use burnt sienna or something like that. And added some details with the same color on other pages as well. And here's the final flip through of the whole month. If you missed out the first part, check out my last video with my monthly. And if you want more, I have a whole playlist of bullet journal spreads. I hope you find one that you like. If you like this one, do let me know by clicking the thumbs up. And I'd love to know your opinion on this kind of spreads, with no painting and drawing. Is it refreshing to see something new and quick, or do you enjoy the more invested spreads more? I can see either point, so I'm really curious. Thank you so much for watching, and do subscribe for more nature arty fun coming in every Friday. Have nice holidays if you have them, and I hope to see you next week. Bye bye! I have never drawn them. And this week, let's continue with our weeklies. These are the flowers I got from my daughter for my birthday, so I had to show them off. But the theme is